fun new episode of the Board Uplander Show. We're calling this one Philosopher's Stone. And it's going to be based around thinking out loud about Upland's possibilities with some of our biggest thinkers in Upland. On the line, we have BleuRain.
Hey.
She has her own YouTube channel linked in the profile below. And she gets into the analytics of Upland, and we'll let her describe her show a little bit more and her process in Upland. But what I loved about the content was it had a big picture thinking along with the data, and that's what this show is all about. It's about big thinking in Upland, which is a developing platform, which gives us a lot of leeway to think about Upland in certain aspects, right? So, BleuRain, can you tell us a little bit about your entrance into Upland and basically what your concept for what you're trying to do is about?
Okay, so my entrance into Upland was, well, I'm pretty much a gamer already, and I saw something about playing to earn online, and there was some like other YouTuber that was like doing like reviews of play to earn games. He brought up Upland, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. So then I went to go see what it was about, and it was like, oh yeah, it's like, property trading game like Monopoly. And so from there, I was like, kind of like, oh, that sounds really fun, because I've always been into Monopoly. And then just the idea of being able to play to earn, because I was already like kind of spending another game. Well, I stopped, but I really had spent a lot in another game that was like on my phone. And it was the idea to me was like, okay, I already see so many people willing to pay to win, and they don't even get anything back. So if this is a game that people are going to pay and actually have the ability to earn from, I was like, this is a really good concept. And it's like Monopoly. And I was like, this is something definitely for me to look into, because I already see people willing to throw their money away for a skin on the castle. And, they're not going to ever get that money back. And they'll hope they may be going to sometimes sell their castle back to somebody that for way, way, way less than they ever spent. Like, they know they're not going to get more. So to me, I was like, this is like a really fun possibility, to play, because that's fun, but also maybe I can earn. So that I was pretty much hooked. So when I got into it, though, I didn't understand it right away. So that was like what kind of got me to where I guess like I am now, is like my initial misunderstandings led me to understand what others might misunderstand too. And so I was like, okay. So yeah, anyways, I got into Upland for that reason, to earn, hopefully, but also because the aspect of playing to earn is really what drew me.
Yes. Excellent. And I see that you built, your YouTube, content around being able to dispel some of these misconceptions, misunderstandings, tips and all of that. But I think what really fascinated me, along with our, short conversation in Las Vegas for the Genesis Week event, was the one segment that you did in VR, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw that and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, she's thinking about Upland at that next level. Where yes, here's the tips and for being successful in Upland, but this is Upland as the concept, and you were talking about other VR aspects. I think Upix World, I think, was part of that conversation too. So it was interesting to see you combine the big thinking with the data there, the how to play part. And to move on, piggyback off of that is, what are you trying to build? Like, the tips and tricks and all of that, I think lends to the familiarity. But what up on top of that are you going to use your YouTube channel for, or any other social media that you may be venturing into, to build on top of the concepts of Upland and what you're trying to develop for your, I guess, gameplay or advancement in Upland?
Okay, so I think that like maybe I've evolved my initial intentions, because my initial thing was like when I started doing my YouTube thing, my motivation like for like starting a YouTube channel in Upland was like, oh, I want to generate traffic to my Etsy store because I am like a little bit of an artist and I do all that stuff. So I was like, that was my initial like, let me make content that people might actually want to watch, that I would be interested in making. But then also, obviously I want to generate traffic to my store. But then I was like, okay, as I got into it, I started realizing all these other opportunities in Upland. They're like entrepreneurial, I guess, to say. And I was like, this is like, and then I read Ready Player One. Someone was like, you better read Ready Player One. And then I read that Ready Player One. And then everything seemed to just expand to me, like in my mind for Upland. And I was like, wow, like people really do already want to engage in the metaverse. And this is just like this, I feel like the metaverse itself is almost like the whole community aspect of it, like that part of it where people want to be involved in these like gaming communities where it's fun and they all share the same passion. I'm like, people will already spend within gaming communities, but now they've taken the Upland where it's like, okay, these are based on real world things and you're going to be able to connect them to other possibilities. And then I'm like, I started looking at VR, like Horizon Worlds, and like thinking about like Mark Zuckerberg's trying to do, and then like looking at how Upland was saying they were going to like try to link, to these other metaverses. So I was like, this is really huge, because if I could like chill in VR at my Upland property with people from like around the world in VR, you know what I mean? And like we could property trade in VR in person kind of thing. But you know what I mean? I feel like there's just so much potential there, because I feel like the world is really evolving to like, we are going to be buying digital assets. Like we are going to be like living a lot, I think a huge part of our lives in a digital sense. So it just seems like, so for me now, I'm like, Upland to me is almost like a must-have. Like it just seems like people don't realize it, but it's like, this is like a must-have. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking.
Wow. Yeah, no, I totally get it, because and here's where we can kind of expand this thinking. If we look at human civilization, right, beyond the initial steps of setting up one's own homestead, right, your own home, I guess your own reality, your tangible reality, it's kind of like the next level of us basically creating a society, being social, or a community in any way, is a marketplace, right? Where we can personally value our efforts and the fruits of our labor literally to a marketplace, right? To say, I grew this tomato, or I bred this goat, and it is X value. What would you pay for it, right? And in this case with Upland, it seemed like they put that same aspect together, right? They gave us the individualistic aspect of homesteading, right? Buy these properties, collections. These are things that you can individually gain or show progress, success, self-worth in a sense, setting up our homestead, our own accounts. And now there's this expansion to, okay, if you want to find any value in this, you have to bring it to the market, whether it's your secondary sales, whether it's selling a property with a building on it, where a metaventurer, an entrepreneur, will want to set up shop, and so on and so forth. So now it's like this expansion of community. Now that you said you've expanded or evolved in your Upland gameplay, how does that aspect of evolution, of taking what was individualistic, the gameplay, to the community aspect, how are you doing that?
Well, see, I think, I don't know. I feel like Discord is like where the community aspect lies right now. And me giving back to the community, like through my YouTube channel, is like me like trying to like talk, like reach out to them, and like, and also hopefully reach new players, because I want people to like to discover Upland too, like so that we can all be a part of this. Because I feel like obviously it's like if it's a world, you want everyone in there. And like the idea is like right now everyone like, well, a lot of people are on Discord, but not everybody, and I can't wait for like in-game communication to like get us there. But I think like for me, it's like just reaching out and telling people like, this is like this place exists and like people are going to be going here, and it's like everyone has a reason to be in Upland. Like it's like there's just I feel like it's almost like Google. Like we all use Google right now. Like I don't know who doesn't use Google, but maybe there are some people who like strictly Firefox. But I feel like Upland is going to become like the next like almost like this Web3 place, which is some place you'll want to have some property because something or another is going to happen there, and we're all going to be. It's just like, you know, it's like a part of life. But you know, with as far as you were saying with like the whole like evolution of like people and, you know, societies wanting to have this marketplace and show our efforts, I feel like life itself, like people are always looking for something to do, something that's entertaining. Like we all want some new purpose all the time. And so I feel like Upland keeps giving us like a new thing. And I think that's another reason why it's really going to be pay off, because it's like it keeps being innovative and it keeps giving us something to go ahead and stretch for. And I like that.
Yeah. And that's a great transition into, you know, again, it's keeping in with this greater thinking. You brought up earlier how you were surprised how many artists are in Upland or work, you know, to bring user-generated content in Upland. And here is where we can philosophize on this. My opinion on that aspect is that I think artists are naturally built to think outside the box, right? But at the same time, be the person standing outside of the box, wondering why this box is here. You know, it's kind of like you said with the Etsy store, right? We have a vision for our art. We have the color schemes and imagery, all of that bouncing in our heads, and then we put it out there in a piece, in a work of art. Now, as we're producing it, I think we both, as artists and just, you know, humans, have this thing where we're creating, like, this is amazing, this is new, but at the same time, there's that discrepancy or reluctance. It's like, who would want this? Who would buy this?
Yeah,
you know, who is into this, right? So we're traveling this parallel train track, in my opinion, that we can envision greatness in a sense, right? But at the same time, we also like keeping our feet on the ground to know who will understand this greatness. Right. And so with Upland, like you were saying, like there's this combination of greater thinking. People, you know, in the mass market don't have the ability to understand why property, quote unquote, is needed or valuable in a metaverse in the same way that we think of property in real life, a building, a house, you know, a business. And so we're able to probably, I think, conceptualize that better and put it together in a way to explain it, right?
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, for me, for sure, because even with myself, I went through a couple of like internal battles, I guess. Like, you know, like you said, like, who will buy this? Like, am I being silly buying these like virtual properties? Like, is this like, you know, a dumb move on my part to put money into a game where this is like a virtual land? Like, I will, in my own mind, I'm like, I just like go through the argument, and then I'm like, well, if you look at there's like a number of different analogies. Like, for one, any brand where people spend money, like iPhones, you know what I mean? Like, we're spending so much money because it's the brand, not because of necessarily, because like we can go get a cheaper phone that probably has the same stuff, but it's like we still want Apple, or we still want Android, or we keep buying the next upgrade just because, right? So people just have like, I feel like almost like we spend our money on things just because all the time. So there's already that in us. So it's like, well, who cares if it's virtual? People like things because they like it, and they'll buy it because they want it. Just like a picture, like art itself. Like, well, why are you buying that art? Oh, I like the way it looks. That's why. So I don't need to like. So that's one reason. Like, well, people ask me like, well, why are you doing that? It's like, well, people buy stuff because they like it, and some people already like this. So I don't have to worry about if there's a market, because there is a market already. Because I jumped in, you know, when the market already existed. So it's not, I'm at the beginning like wondering. But then there's also just the whole idea that like the art itself. So when I started like looking at it and started thinking about like just like people may not realize like the idea of like just the history of what Upland's doing, but like these street views, even like just my street view, if I like snap it, because it may change one day, just like one day that might not be there one day. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one day in the future, just me having, hey, that was my NFT, or like this street view, like, and like, look at this. You know, you just never know, like the potential for the art of the game to become more, you know, more value just because it was art at one point, like, or when it was just weird historical thing where people were buying property based on real life stuff. You know what I mean? Who knows? But I think just like baseball cards and the legits and things like that makes it all like a whole other reason. But really the number one thing is the utility. Like, to me, they keep offering ways that really do expand. Like, if I can one day link my business, my real life business, to my real life or my virtual property address, and people can connect with me through my game and customers can come relate with me, I feel like just that is like, you know, that's a really big investment reason logically to like, it's a smart investment. It's not like a silly one, like, oh, you're just trying to trade baseball cards. It's like, no, this is like smart business. It's like if you had a website opportunity where someone can get your like, this is your address on the website. It is like, hey, you know what I mean? And it matches your physical location. Why wouldn't you do that? So it's like, you know, so to me, it's like, that's why I feel like if people who are artists may see like all that potential, but even if you're just business savvy, I feel like people who are like, you don't like art at all, you should still be able to see that investment opportunity side of it. Hopefully, that money box, I'm like, there's a money box there too. But I do think as artists, we can see a lot. Well, especially people may not know, but like people who get into Blender, those like 3D models, and how much people are paying right now for block explorers. Like, if you can design that decor and you're an artist, like a digital artist. Oh, my Siri's talking to me. But I
didn't get that.
Sorry, Siri.
Could you?
Shush. So there's a lot there, I think.